Welcome to Gamify 24/7, episode 23. We are back for another episode. Thank you for downloading. Don't forget you can leave us a comment in YouTube page, or if you want, you can email us, or you can send a carrier pigeon, but just warn us first so that we know to look out for it. Welcome to episode 23.
Hello, welcome.
So, guys, we're one short today. Kat is not feeling her best today. Poor Kat.
Yeah.
Kat left us a message on Facebook saying that she's had a bit of a rough time, so she won't be making it today. But we said we'd give her a shout out. So, hi, Kat.
Hi. In case the audience doesn't know, Kat is somebody who's on the podcast.
Yeah.
So hi. It's a shame because she says she was like a teensy bit drunk. I'm like, that would have made a good podcast. Drunk podcast is best
good.
podcast.
We said we have to call her the Mad Steamer.
The Mad Steamer.
Call her the Mad Steamer.
That could be
TM.
like a video game title. You could have like the Mad Hatter, the Mad Steamer, and then it could be like a whole series of like really cool video games, and then maybe a TV series.
Yep.
I think I'm still drunk. Anyway, so episode 23, Gamify 24/7. And what have you guys been playing this week then? Anton, what have you been up to, gaming-wise?
Oh, I'm always the odd one. I'm just like playing whatever. This week I've jumped into Undertale on PC.
Oh, yeah.
Me and Kat have been mentioning that a few times on the podcast. If you've not played it, highly recommend it. It looks like a very basic RPG from the just outset of it, but it's got some like really rich and well developed characters, and even with ways you fight them, you can even get stuff back from how they're fighting you. Just you can understand their personality just from that. And the thing I'm loving about it is just playing it pacifist. You don't need to kill anybody, or you can kill everyone. It's completely up to you. So yeah.
So you've not went full evil on the character, no?
No, I've accidentally killed one person, so I'm kind of sitting here thinking, I might restart the whole game just so I can do it completely pacifist.
It's like Until Dawn. I remember playing that. And it was like, we'll try and save everyone. And within about a minute, someone was dead. It's like, oh, God damn it.
How many did you have at the end without giving away anything on the game?
It was actually Kieran that played it, but I'm pretty sure Kieran had at the end, he had something like I think he actually done it right. I think he had about 3 or 4 left.
Yeah, that's what I think I had about 3 or 4. I think I was kind of I started off trying to do that as well, and it's frustrating because you make one wrong decision and you're like, I want to but then it takes away the point of the game if I change it.
Yeah, and it takes so long as well to go all through it again. So
Anton, is Undertale just on PC, or is that I think I saw PlayStation 4 maybe, is it a download?
Yeah, they announced that at E3 they're bringing it to PS4 and PS Vita soon, and they've got a really groovy special edition that I'm going to have to
I
import.
did see that for the Vita actually. That looks cool.
groovy.
I highly recommend giving it a go. Even if it's not for the gameplay, there's plenty of people I've known to actually play this just for the story and characters because they're so well developed.
Cool.
And as well as that, the fan base is crazy for it.
I might actually check it out on the Vita. I think it'd be perfect for the Vita actually, by the sounds of it. All right, Shaun, then what have you been playing?
Again, I've not actually been playing that much. On Wednesday, I was going to do a stream with Lindsay. My PC went screwed up on me, so we couldn't actually do the live stream. But I got Farpoint in with the gun, with the aim controller.
Nice.
So that was for the PlayStation VR. So because we couldn't stream it, I just had to be quick shot of it, and it's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool. The way it picks up the gun, and you can see it. Like, there's bits in the game where it shows you the gun overlaid over the aim controller.
Okay.
And you can see how it maps it out, and it's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty decent tracking and stuff. A little bit getting used to the movements. It's like the kind of games where if it's like the free movement, it makes people a little bit sick or nauseous. But I seem to be alright with it so far, so I've been taking it easy. But I only played like about an hour of it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool though, pretty cool stuff.
So in terms of like responsiveness, how would you say it compares to just the basic move controllers and stuff?
Oh, it's way better. It's like even with just a single camera picking it up, it works. No, I wouldn't say flawlessly, but it works almost perfectly. You know what I mean? It's like there's bits you can look in the gun. It's got a little hologram scope.
Okay.
And you can look down it in the game and you can shoot stuff through it, and it seems to be pretty spot on. So it's really satisfying because you'll bring it up and you'll go, and you're looking in the actual scope, and it's working really well. So it's really, really cool in that sense. There's loads of things with the aim control. I'll show you after that, Anton. There's bits where you've still got the touchpad and everything, but I've not really used that for anything yet. But people were saying on the forums and on Facebook that you can actually, in one of the modes, you can use that to switch between and go back to the start of a level and stuff. So it looks like they've done a really good job. I was worried that it would be quite, the actual controller itself would be really light and cheap because it just looks like a tube, like a piping. But that's it there. It's actually really solid. It feels solid and sturdy. So it's a lot better than what I thought. And the fact that I didn't have to pay over the top for it, I'm quite chuffed. So
that sounds good. Sounds good. I have been playing mostly Switch-related games. I actually got Bomberman on the Switch because I know the initial reviews had been pretty scathing of Bomberman, or certainly mixed anyway, not scathing, that's not fair, mixed. However, they've had a couple of updates since, and it's improved the reviews since then, and people have kind of been saying good things, so I thought I'll give it a go. Got a reasonable deal on it, and yeah, it's good. It's fast. It's like Bomberman of old, but faster. I'm not sure whether whether having them speak or not I like yet. I think I kind of like it. I'm getting used to it now. Nice little story mode. Quite unforgiving, I will say, as well. But no, I think I'm going to get some mileage out of it. I love the fact you can do 8 players with the Joy-Cons as well, potentially. I love the fact that you can, if you have a couple of people around, Bomberman is still a great game to play with friends. It's
see, that's a waste of me then, because it's like I'd never fill up those 8 spots. I'd fill up one, me.
But you know, as a party game, it's still one of those ones that you can play with people, and it's good fun, you know. And so I'm looking forward to getting a bit more into it. I've also been Lego City Underground. I'm still working my way through that. I still love that game. I don't know why I love it so much. I just do. It's just like it's a really well-formed game. So I've been playing that on the Switch. And apart from that, I've just been mostly wishing I had more time to play more games because it's been a really busy week. So the Switch has been my friend this week. It's funny because do you remember we had a conversation about how I was playing mostly in docked mode? And you were saying, oh, that's weird. There was a survey that was saying it was kind of pretty much 50-50. Well, interestingly, I am now probably splitting it exactly 50-50 because Mario Kart I play with my other half, Rachel, and she's miles better than me, like absolutely way better than me. So that's in docked mode. But generally, if I'm playing Lego, I'm pretty much in handheld. Bomberman's docked, Zelda's handheld, so it's very much 50-50, and that's the beauty of the Switch. That's what it's supposed to be, isn't it?
Well, I actually run. I'm pretty sure I put it up on the Twitter account. I'm just trying to find it just now. I'm pretty sure I put up a poll just to see what people were saying, because we asked about it a couple of episodes ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I put up a poll about it, and people got back to us. There wasn't like tons of people replying to it, but let me see if I can find it. So we'll carry on then. I'll try and find it in the background.
Yeah. Can I mention, by the way, that it's very odd today because I'm looking at, first of all, Anton's got one of the greatest T-shirts ever on today. With a Nintendo 64 T-shirt. He is very cool, Anton.
Thank you very much.
Top marks for that, my man. That's very good. And
you've got an imposter.
We've got an imposter.
Yeah,
I mean,
fake Shaun.
have you made your debut on screen yet without the beard?
I did. I put it up on Instagram. I put it up on Instagram and Facebook, and I done it before and after, and how Gokban made me 10 years younger.
I saw that.
So I look 28 now. I'm still an old man. God damn it.
Well,
I'm in with the kids now.
I think it suits you, but it's also very disconcerting. I literally was looking for Shaun when you arrived on the screen. I was like, who is this? Who is this handsome younger brother of Shaun's that's imposter of the day? But yeah, so well done on getting that done.
Right. I found the actual poll thing I did on Twitter. So we only had 5 votes, which isn't a massive amount, but 40% said they played it in docked mode, and 60% said they played it in handheld.
So that'll be
3
people said they played it, and 2 people said.
Listen, it's decided.
So for yourself, Shaun, are you kind of like, from what I'm gathering from yourself, Mike, is it depending on a per game basis whether or not you play it in dock or handheld mode?
Very much.
Is that the same for you, or is it just a case of which one's more easily available?
It's more just where I am. It's like if I'm in the studio, I'd play it predominantly in dock mode, just because I put it up to the TV. But when I'm not here, if I'm at work or I'm at home or whatever, it'd always be in handheld mode, obviously. But yeah, like I think, maybe at some stage I might get a second dock. You know, there's like the third-party ones that are all over the place. I think maybe when they're a little bit cheaper, maybe 20, 30 quid, but they're all about 40 or 50 right now. I'm still reluctant to spend that much on just a Switch, essentially. Not a game console, but the Switch for like converting it to the TV.
Yeah.
But I think when they're maybe £30, I'd maybe be tempted to buy a second dock thing. One of the portable versions, one that you don't have to slide it into, you just plug it in and have it connected up to maybe a screen at home. But I don't have a screen at home, this is the problem. I don't actually have a screen at my house, and at work I'll just be playing it in handheld anyway, so I'd need to get a second monitor or something. But that's probably why I've played it mostly in handheld mode.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when the docks come down in price, I mean, you can just plug the cable in, of course. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but the dock...
I think you have to plug it in the dock. I think you have to do a dock for it to go to the screen.
For charging, sorry, I was talking about for charging. Yeah. But if you want it, obviously, if you want to have it on the screen. But yeah, I think when the docks come down in price, I think that there's a big market there for people who will want a second one. It makes a lot of sense, but still too pricey at the moment for me. Speaking of the Switch, then at Splatoon 2, we have some news there. I've pre-ordered it, looking forward to it. As I mentioned, I'm going to go for the Pro Controller as well, the fancy limited edition one, simply because I needed a second one. I thought it looked cool. I say I needed a second one. Nobody needs a second Pro Controller. I would like a second Pro Controller. They've got the. They're launching on the 15th, which is next Saturday. They're doing the kind of test run. Tell me a bit more about this. What does it mean?
Yeah, so I think it was, when was it, last Wednesday? Like Wednesday just passed. They had the Nintendo Direct, the Splatoon 2 Nintendo Direct. And they were talking about a lot more details. They talked about the online. In fact, we got to see some of the online stuff this time, which actually looks pretty cool. I'm still dubious about the connection part of it, but the service itself looked pretty cool. It had quite in-depth stats and stuff. You could buy gear for your characters. So that was pretty cool stuff. Like the chat bit even looked quite cool. But they showed off that. They showed some more of the story stuff, and it just looked really cool. But because of the Nintendo Direct, they were saying they're on the 15th they're going to have the global test fair. I forgot what it's called now, but they're having the last sort of global test fair before launch on the 21st. And along with that, they're going to be, I think they're going to show off the online service then. You can download it then as well. And there was something else I was going to say about it. I've totally forgot. My brain literally just blanked.
So just to clarify, SplatFest is what we're talking about, right?
SplatFest, that's it. Yeah,
so it's going to be the world premiere on the 15th, and it's basically
Team Ice Cream and Team Cake. That was it. Sorry.
Okay. So tell me that I didn't realise though, because I've been busy, but I didn't realise that you could go on and start customising stuff already on Splatoon 2. Tell me what's going on there.
Yeah, I think if you go ahead and buy it, it allows you to like pre-install it. So once the game goes live, it's like you can just instantly jump down and don't have to like download the game beforehand, and you can just go in there and customize all your characters and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about myself actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to actually have your copy either digitally or if you somehow have an early copy of because obviously I've pre-ordered online, so I have to wait till it arrives to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, I might actually. Well, like I've not got an X-mail. I was going to say I'll check this afterwards, but I don't know how they would check if you had like a physical version. But yeah, there was people definitely online where they've got pictures of it up already, and people were in like online customising their characters and buying gear or mucking around with it and stuff, and walking around the little plaza area. So
cool. It does. I mean, I'm certainly looking forward to having a go. I mean, I remember that I'm one of the people that didn't have the first Splatoon, so it's going to be a completely new experience for me from the ground up. But I know that some of the worry is that it's going to be too much like the first one for people that are revisiting it. But certainly, it seems like it's heading in the right direction. They've got lots of content, and they seem to be kind of putting everything into it. So it'll be interesting to see how people react to it on the 15th.
Yeah, the thing I'm finding quite interesting, how they've literally shown off the new Nintendo Switch online app that's meant to be the hub for all online services. And they've literally just barely shown it off, really. It's like, it's coming out a couple weeks from now, but they've shown literally nothing of this app and the functionality.
SplatNet is called SplatNet.
Yeah, so what's happening, it seems like every game that has like their companion app seems to be a sub-app of the Nintendo Switch Online app. And it's weird how they're talking about this app, and they've mentioned this app ages ago, but we have no idea of all the things you can do with it. What's quite quite concerning that they're not even talking about that yet.
Well, it is like it's off. It's going like that's going to be coming live in 2018. So I think this will be essentially what the Splatfest is. It's just a kind of test. I think this will give us a few months of testing it. There'll probably be something for Mario as well at some stage. But we'll start getting these apps coming for the games, the big releases from Nintendo. And maybe we'll start getting a little bit more and more of exactly what the service is going to be. Obviously, there's still the whole side of it where you pay for the membership and you get access to the retro games side of it that we know nothing about fully anyway, at least. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it's like just having a shot of this. I quite like that idea though. I like the idea of the main Switch online app, and then you've got sub-tab sections, whatever you want to call it, sub-apps in there, and you'd maybe just go in, you know, you've got your main app, you go into it, and then you can select Splatoon 2, Mario Odyssey, whatever else.
Yeah.
And just go in there, and then they've got much more in-depth stuff like stats and customizations and chat sections for them. Hopefully it'll work quite well.
And even from a developer point of view, it means we're not going to have so many like crappy companion apps that are just like last minute shoveled in nonsense. It's like it's all just kept on one umbrella. Nintendo's pretty much done the skeleton for it, and people are just throwing the meat of their games on them.
The only worry with that though is how big and how intensive is that app going to be on a mobile device? Because if they're putting, you know what I mean, what happens when the Switch gets to a couple of hundred games that have got online apps, and they're all going to be in that one app? You've got 200 games there. You know, I know in the Switch right now we've got the channel partner. You can select the channels and follow channels. Is it going to be similar to that? You can follow the games you want. But what happens if you want to follow 100 different games? It's going to be a bit convoluted, is it not? Obviously, you'll have search and filters and all that kind of jazz. But I'm just worried that maybe the app itself will be very bloated eventually. Yeah. Especially when you start downloading all the stats and everything, you know.
I'm wondering maybe if they just go via the form of just making it a web applet, so there's no data stored on the actual device itself.
Good point, yeah. It's like a sort of hub to a web app, yeah.
Because kind of like the Miiverse, it's like, or something like that, where all the information's there, but you're not actually downloading it.
It's a good point. Good point, Anton. Good point. Nice catch.
Yeah, and just on Splatoon 2, one of the weapons I'm looking forward to seeing is the Brella. Did you see the Brella?
Yeah.
It's for those that aren't.
Mary Poppins, y'all. Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, for those that aren't in the know, it's like an umbrella type weapon, and I think it fires double from memory as well. It looks cool anyway, so I'm just looking forward to the game. It's going to be good. We've got some Bayonetta news as well. What's been going on there, Shaun?
Well, this is an interesting one. Platinum Games basically launched their Japanese specific account on Twitter, and when they posted it up, they had a picture of Bayonetta 1 and 2, like a kind of cross picture, and I think the top half's blue and the bottom half's red, kind of mimicking the neon Joy-Con controllers. So everyone was kind of like, is that a hint that they're doing Bayonetta 3 or they're doing ports of Bayonetta 1 and 2 for the Switch? Obviously we know that Nintendo funded Bayonetta 2. Are they funding Bayonetta 3? Who knows? With that as well, people were going on and on about it and retweeting it and everything, and Platinum's been retweeting and liking those tweets, so it's like it's almost adding fuel to the fire that, you know, maybe they're doing something. However, we did obviously get the PC port of Bayonetta 1, so maybe it's just something like that. But since then, they've also posted up a picture of 3 of the wonderful 101 characters playing Nintendo Switch, the controllers, the grips, and they're playing what looks like a blurred out game of Wonderful 101 on the screen. And it's like, well, they're obviously playing with Nintendo grip controllers. Are they hinting that that's coming to the Switch as well? You know, I actually was talking to people online about this on the Nintendo Switch page on Facebook, the group, sorry, and I was kind of talking to them about that. You know, as exciting as it is, I think it'd be cool to get the ports, Wonderful 101, Bayonetta 1 and 2, over to the Switch. Like, I'm not denying that. That's cool. It's a nice, exciting prospect. But if that's what Platinum Games has been working on, and that's it, that's a bit disappointing.
I'm wondering, they could possibly do what they did with Bayonetta 2, where they ported Bayonetta 1 at the same sort of time. So I'm wondering if they're maybe going for the approach of just having this, like, because these weren't the most popular games, when you're jumping into it, like the third game along, and there's a lot of lore with Bayonetta if any of you have played it. I imagine they might be wanting to have those games in it and be like, hey, catch up on these other games, and then they can charge a little bit extra.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Like, I'm totally up for that. As long as they are doing Bayonetta 3
of
and
course.
they're doing Wonderful 102 or whatever it's going to be called. I'm just worried that that's all they've been working on, and they've not got those new games. And then all the excitement, you know, like when Nintendo Switch was announced and they were showing off the dev list, the amount of publishers that were making games and devs making games, and you saw Platinum Games there, you saw Grasshopper Games and stuff. You know, I think everyone was like, cool, there's a game coming from Platinum. But if it's not actually a game they're making at all, and they're just porting, that's like, to me, that's a bit of a disappointment. It's like, I'm still going to be excited about getting those games, but I've already got the games on the Wii U. So it's like, I want something new, make something new. If they come out and they do what Anton's saying, they've got the new games.
Are we starting to get worried yet about the lack of new titles on the Switch? Is it cause for concern just yet?
Personally, I'm still quite satisfied. I feel like my waiting time will be until like next E3. If we don't have stuff coming out by next E3, then I'll start be getting concerned. But I feel like for this first year, a lot of developers seem to be like sitting there with the attitude of, yeah, we'll see how it does, and then they're like making decisions. So yeah, because I'm trying to think, it was a developer who did Overcooked. They were like, they weren't planning to do a game on Switch, port over to Switch, but then they saw the success of it and they're like, okay, now we'll do it. So I'm hoping a lot of developers are maybe sitting with that mind frame. But if we're sitting here in a year's time still asking these same sort of questions, then I think it'll be start to become time for concern.
What's funny is I've done a daily fix on this whole subject, and I put up the title because I thought people would instantly understand what I was saying. I put the title up as, what was it I said? I said something about Nintendo. I said Nintendo Switch, something about it. I said, or is it doomed? And I was clearly making a joke that as like people were going on about Nintendo being doomed and all this kind of stuff. But I got like loads of stick online about it on Facebook because people thought I was clickbaiting and they thought I was like slagging off the Nintendo Switch. When it was the exact opposite of that. I was actually highlighting the benefits of the Nintendo Switch and where I see third parties going. Exactly like what Anton's saying. The whole point I was making was, I think, you know, based on what happened with the Wii U and maybe even the GameCube as well, everyone's thinking that, you know, we're getting a lack of third-party support just now and it's going to be like that going forward. I genuinely think, from what I've seen, from the fact that Nintendo's bringing out a new game pretty much every month up until the end of this year, there's big titles coming. I think Nintendo knows that third parties aren't going to support the Switch for this first year properly, and that's why we're not seeing like Call of Duty and all these kind of games coming to the Switch yet. And like Anton said, I think by E3 next year, I think Nintendo's whole plan is to be, for this first year, is to bolster up the system with its own big titles like Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, ARMS, Mario Kart 8, Zelda. Use all those titles to build up, and it's working because you can see that it's sold out everywhere still. Build it up for the first year, get a massive install base. Like we're looking at probably about 10 to 20 million this first year based on sales, which is absolutely incredible. Use that first year and then say to third parties, you can see the success. There's an install base there for you, which was what was always the problem on the Wii U. There wasn't an install base there for them, and the install went off. There's hype on this machine. There's an install base. There's big titles there. And third parties will start to come on board. And by E3, if they're not coming on board at that point, when new titles getting announced at that point, then it's in trouble. But I think you're already seeing it starting to work, where we've got Rocket League coming to this Switch, and the devs like Undercooked and stuff. I think devs were sitting and they were like, right, we're not sure because we've had problems with Nintendo's consoles. And now they're already seeing, even at this early stage, the massive success of what Nintendo's got coming up. And some of them are already starting to say, you know what, let's get on this. Let's get on it now, man. Let's get on before it's too late. Because it's always the start, the launch of a console. That's when third-party devs are going to make their biggest sales. Like I'm told, the install base is built up. But that's when they'll get the biggest, their biggest sales. So some of them now are starting to say, right, we really need to get onto it. Let's get a game out for the end of this year. And we're getting Rocket League and stuff. So I think we're going to start seeing, towards October, when Mario Odyssey starts kicking in, I think by October, I think we're going to see a bunch of new games coming out that maybe even if it's ports or games coming from the games that were already announced, we'll start seeing those games starting to come to the Switch. And if it doesn't, by the end of this year, I'll start getting worried. But by E3, if it's not there, I'll be really worried. I think we're just never going to get third parties. But on the thing with that is, if by E3 we've not got third-party support, but there's 20 odd million Nintendo Switches sold, and we've got all Nintendo's big games. Does it really matter? I think if we're getting all Nintendo's big titles on the machine, I don't think it actually really matters. I think it's just on a psychological level, you want the third parties there. But who cares if we've got 20, 30 amazing Nintendo games by that point?
Absolutely, because even if you look at the DS, or the 3DS, how many 3DS owners do you know that are buying 3DSs for third-party games? Yeah. They're going in there and they're like, yeah, I want Link Between Worlds, I want the new Pokemon. So it's obviously proven in the past that third-party is not an essential part of Nintendo's business. However, I have like a low fear is if we didn't get third-party, I feel like Nintendo's came and they've really pushed this year and they've got their big AAA first-party games. I don't feel like they would have another good solid lineup for next year. Obviously, we've got a few good games in the lineup, but it wouldn't be like this year because they've really put a lot into this year.
You think about it, we've got Metroid Prime 4, we've got a Pokemon game, we've got an Animal Crossing still not being announced.
True.
You think of the other games, we've got F-Zero, we've not had any mentions about that. There's there's probably a bunch of other Nintendo franchises I can't think off the top of my head. But there's probably a good chunk of Nintendo franchises that have not even been announced yet, or that are coming that we already know are coming in 2018, like Pokemon and Metro Prime 4. What else could be announced next year at E3? We might have 10 games next year ready to rock and roll for 2018.
I tell you what I would like them to do. I would like them to introduce some sort of trophy-based system.
I see, I've never been into trophies. I've never really got this, but I can understand why people on like Xbox and PlayStation 4 are all over that kind of stuff, like on a stats level or achievement level.
It's weird because I wouldn't have thought it was something that I was ever bothered about, and when I first had a 360 it wasn't particularly a big thing, but the more I played and the more games that I got through, the more I kind of got sucked into it. And I don't think it's about comparing what you're playing with other people. It's more of a marker for yourself as to your progress and to what you've done and to where you can do a little bit more. And I know you can kind of get a percentage with Zelda. You can kind of see how much of the game you've done, but I kind of feel that it would be something that would be really welcomed. And it's also the kind of thing that you don't have to do. You don't have to be bothered about it either. It's not like it's going to put people off if you've got that.
Yeah.
Regarding that then, Michael, just to ask you a question, I'm wondering if it comes from something else, but I'll just check this with yourself. Someone who's played Zelda, and yourself, Anton, as well. Would you say Zelda Breath of the Wild, would you say that would benefit from an achievement system? The fact that it's got the stuff there where you can see what missions you've done, what side tasks you've done, side quests, you can see the percentage. You've now got the heroes map where you can see where you've went in the map and stuff with the download content. Do you think do you think Zelda Breath of the Wild would benefit that much? Well, just out of curiosity.
My thoughts are that they've done exactly that within the game deliberately because there isn't that out with it. So I think they've seen that and thought, you know what, we need to make our own internal system here so that when players play Zelda, they know what they've done, what they haven't, what they've got left. I think that's a great way for games to go. But yes, if you're asking the question, do I think people would still prefer to have an external Nintendo-based rewards or trophy system in place for the likes of Zelda? Absolutely, because there's a little bit of a kind of badge of honor to say I've 100%ed Zelda, and other people see that, and other people, your friends on there go along to compare games with what you've done, like on PlayStation 4, and they say, oh wow, Anton's 100%ed Zelda, that's incredible. I'm like nowhere near that, and I do think there is a little bit of a kind of there's a bit of pride in that, and I think that it would really. I think it's the great thing about it is I don't think they've got anything to lose by doing it because it's not something that everyone's going to be interested in, but I think a lot of people will be, and I certainly think for third-party games, it would help them sell them a bit better. I believe people would be more inclined to look at third-party games if they could A, play it portably, which you can with the Switch, and then B, if there was a trophy system, because I think a lot of people will be put off buying a game they can get on the PlayStation because there's a trophy system. I honestly believe that. I think
I've got an interesting thing for you both, then. Anton, yourself though.
For myself, I really would love achievements on Switch because for me,
but just Zelda though.
Oh, Zelda. Yeah. For me, it's
this kind of goes into what I'm about to say in a second.
For me, achievements add value to a game because when you get down to games and you've scraped the bone of all the bits of gameplay,
scrape the bone.
I just want there to be, I feel like achievements encourage you to do a little more stuff, do dumb stuff, like have an achievement to be like, yeah, fight a Lionel with no clothes.
Yeah.
Or take down, get to Ganon with only using a sword or something like that, and having dumb stuff like that. Like, looking back on the 360 and that, it's like Halo 3, it's like, they would have levels that are driving levels, and they'll be like, yeah, do it without a car. I'm like, sure, yeah, I'm going to do that.
All right then, so I understand that perspective of it. Like I said, I've never been like that bored about trophies. There's a couple of things that I'm just interested about on a Nintendo specific level here, because obviously Xbox and PlayStation do it. Has Nintendo like generally made games that like that's less of an issue, because the games like you know, people sit and look at Nintendo as quite a sort of kind of, you know, their games generally tend to be a bit of a higher quality than, unless you've got someone like Naughty Dog or something, which is on the same sort of kind of level. But Nintendo generally stands like they're quite unique in the sense that their games have got a lot of content in them, they're really well done, they're polished to the max, they've not like bloated with stupid like 100 gig downloads and this kind of stuff. So there's that part. Like maybe Nintendo's never really needed achievements as much because the game itself distracts you so much that they're less of an actual point. Whereas if you've got a game that's maybe not got that much of a storyline or that much of in-depth content, the achievement system bolsters that up to make it feel like it's a better game. The second thing, so hopefully I don't like just recall this bit, but the second thing is, has Nintendo in some ways, you know, the Splatoon app, SplatNet app, kind of does that to a certain extent because it's got your stats and everything, but has Nintendo kind of, in one sense, covered it, but also kind of caused themselves some problems by introducing stuff where you can take snapshots of stuff like on the Miiverse. So, you know, before, like if you think of Zelda, if you're in the game, if people beat a Lionel where like just their clothes on, like with no clothes on, just these shorts, they'll take a picture of it and put up a line. And that is them almost doing their achievement to themselves. But they're just not getting a badge for it. But that is almost like their badge on a visual level. So has Nintendo almost covered that in that sense, but there's still that perception that people want an actual trophy.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't matter how much they do visually until people get a little reward that goes ding. I honestly believe that people will still want it, and I genuinely do. I think it's a funny thing. Like I still think of all the systems, the best ever achievement system for me was the Xbox 360. I still think the 360 did it the best. PlayStation trophies are fine and they're good, and it's a kind of similar thing. I think a lot of that was familiarity because that's the first trophy system or first achievement system that I had was Xbox 360. But I just think that no matter how visual they make it, how many snapshots you can take, I noticed that they've got that, you know, with the Switch now, you've got your little gallery bit you can take. That's cool, that's great. But until you're given an achievement for taking a picture of something, I honestly think that there will always be people who want, in fact, a large majority of people who will want Nintendo to introduce a trophy-based system.
Yeah, for me, the trophies just end up being almost like a extra quest list of just extra stuff to do. Well, I understand, like, a lot of these games do have a lot of depth, but you can always add in a little bit extra. That's kind of...
All right, I've got a question for you then, here to think about. Let's say you had two versions, one that was PlayStation 4 with trophies, or you had the exact same game, like I'm not talking about graphics here, but just the exact same game. If it was like for like, you had a PlayStation 4 version that had trophies, or you had a Switch version that didn't have trophies but it's portable. Which one would you choose?
That is really hard, and it would depend. It would depend on the game, but I would say that if I was likely to play it predominantly docked, if it's the kind of game, I would go PlayStation. If they were identical. However, if it was the kind of game that I genuinely thought I was going to play on the go, then sure, the Switch version I would go with. But it is a thing for me. It's definitely a consideration. Like trying to think of an example, but you know, look, going forward, I'm looking at games and going, okay, I want to get that on the Switch, but PlayStation version's coming out, and that'll have achievements, and it's stupid because my achievements, my record isn't great. I mean, look at my achievements. There's nothing to write home about.
I've got none.
But it just gives you a little bit extra, as Anton said, content. It gives you more challenges. There's nothing more satisfying than that little sound when you don't expect it, and suddenly you've got an achievement, and get to an end of it. That's why Telltale games are so great, because you get them at the end of each level. It's brilliant. I'm like, I feel so good at games for like 10 minutes.
See, this is interesting because Nintendo, I'm pretty sure I think Nintendo's kind of on the ball with it. They're just massively behind with the online app. I think that's going to have this stuff built into it. But if Nintendo just had that stuff ready right now, there's what you're saying there. It would almost be a dead cert you'd choose the Switch version if it had those achievements in there. If there was 2 versions and Nintendo had the portable but the achievement.
If they had the achievement and it was portable and the games were the same, there was nothing obviously different about the 2 versions, I would go the Switch version every time.
Yeah, yourself, Anton, yeah.
Yeah, Switch all the way. I love the
Nintendo needs to get in the ball, man.
Yeah, my fear is now that they haven't introduced them, they'll do what they did with the PlayStation 3, because I think they introduced the PlayStation trophies like a year after the PS3 came out.
They did.
And then there's a wave of games that don't even have any. And it's like, it's just such a gap in the library. Like, imagine if like a year down the line they add trophies to Switch, and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to add them to Zelda. I'd be like, why bother?
I know. Yeah, I know. I agreed. It's interesting. I don't know if they'll ever do it. I mean, there's never really been any sign that they were going to. But maybe we need to start a petition, Anton. Maybe we need to start some sort of, get people to sign up. I've got some news about the Xbox One X, by the way. I've got some price news. You might have heard this yesterday. You might have missed it. So this will be new for a lot of people. But they've confirmed the price now. It's been set in the UK, the retail price at $449, the Xbox One X. No exclusive titles over the base Microsoft console. And looking like November launch, which I know we knew a lot of this stuff, but it's kind of been confirmed now over the weekend. So $449, it's a bit more expensive than the PS4 Pro. We talked about this in depth, so we're not going to talk about it for long, but I just wanted to touch on it because it's kind of been confirmed at that price. Is that a mistake?
At first, I was very supportive of the Xbox One. I was like, oh, it's like a PC with a 970 and 16 gigs of RAM almost. That's like the equivalent in the PC sphere for a console of that size and price. I was like, that's good. But then I was looking at, recently we've had the news come out that certain games like Anthem and Assassin's Creed Origins are using checkerboard rendering. I'm like, if I'm paying that much extra for a console that doesn't have VR yet, doesn't have as good of exclusives in my opinion, and it's not running native, why am I paying the extra £100 if you're not getting native on the games that are coming out this year?
Yeah.
I could understand in the last year of the console them being like, you know what, we couldn't get native on this game. I'm sorry, checkerboard rendering. But it's like, the console's not even out yet and we've got games that are going to be using checkerboard rendering. So it's kind of got me a little bit disappointed in that front.
Yeah, I think, like we said before, me and Kat talked about in the show and stuff, I think it's really down to the games. For me anyway, I think for the extra cost, it needs to have, the graphics, as nice as they are, and even when there's no even customizing or optimizing for just Xbox One X games, which is never going to happen because they're always going to have the original version to make, the OG console to make. But the fact that it's just not got anything massively standing out, it's, to me, you're paying over £100 more, and by the time November comes when it releases, it's probably going to be even more expensive, maybe £150 dearer than a PlayStation 4 Pro. And how many gamers realistically have a setup where they've got a TV or even a sim system that, even if they did optimise it, is going to utilise that? And then it comes back to, if you're in that position and that's such a big issue for you, just buy a PC. I just think Nintendo, Microsoft is so delusional with this console, they've totally screwed up. They would have been as well waiting another 2 years and coming out with an Xbox, whatever it was called, a brand new Xbox that was a little bit more advanced than this one, and it had a bunch of exclusives ready to rock and roll for it, and had it and give a full cycle. They've just screwed up, and Sony screwed up as well with the PlayStation 4 Pro, but they got in early enough, and as much as that annoyed me, they got in early enough, and they've got the exclusives, and they've got PlayStation VR, that theirs is kind of a bit more bearable. Xbox is coming late to the game, more expensive, less exclusives, and it just seems completely pointless. And you've got the guys, I said it before, you've got the guys on there Phil Spencer, sorry, Mark Ibarra, whatever his name, Mike Ibarra, they're on there and they're going on and they're harping on about this. It's the equivalent of a $1,500 PC. Nobody cares, man. Nobody cares unless you're some egotistical twat that just wants to have the most powerful games console, which doesn't really translate to anything. All it means is you've got the most powerful console, but it's got no games, so who cares? So unless Microsoft, by November, says, look, we've got this 25 totally brand new exclusive games, nobody cares. It's going to sell probably 1 in 5, 1 in 6 consoles, which means nothing at all.
Well, next time, just try not to mince your words, please, because no, yeah, I get the point, and I think it is the price point and the fact that it is so much more expensive for essentially the same games, no exclusives, all the rest of it. We know it's going to put a lot of people off. So, yeah, we'll be interested to see how it develops. All right, then we've a little bit of Rocket League news, by the way. The guys behind it, Psyonix, have said that they don't have a sequel planned and they won't be releasing a sequel. But that's not bad news. In fact, I'm kind of relieved at that, actually, because I wouldn't have wanted them to. 33 million registered players now in 2 years. It's an incredible success story. It's such a great game, and it's really good online as well. It feels like they've really thought about how they're going to cope with that kind of demand. And what they're doing instead is they're seeing it more as a platform rather than a game, and they're going to develop it. They're going to keep adding to it. They've got new seasons, they've got new updates, they've got new extras. And I kind of applaud that. I'm kind of impressed, because the easy thing to do would be to cash in and say, right, let's do Rocket League 2. But what they're doing instead is developing it, cashing in, because we know obviously there's a cashing in element to anything that's extra. But they're giving a lot of free stuff as well, and they're rewarding people for the more they play as well, which I really like. Is that something we're going to see more of as games become more developed? Particularly, to me, this is like the exact opposite of the problem with games like FIFA, where you could have the base and develop it, but because EA Sports are fairly into getting as much money as possible, a new version comes out the next year, and they've got a slightly new collision detection system. Oh, great, and it's kind of all the things that are wrong with the big franchise games, in my opinion. Rocket League and Psyonix have got it right.
Yeah, definitely. I find it interesting what you were saying, that you started mentioning how they're not doing a sequel. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because it literally works better as a service, I think. Like, just having this idea of having a little trickle of content that brings people in, and then they'll go off and buy stuff. I think one of the games that did this best was GTA Online. What they would do is just have free DLC and updates adding new stuff, but then people would be like, I need cash for all this stuff. So they had the free content keeping people coming back, but then all of a sudden they were like going off and buying these little extra stuff, so they made their money, but the consumer didn't have to buy a new game every year.
Yeah.
And looking at Ubisoft when they did their press conference earlier in the year, where they were talking about how they're going to make less games this year, I definitely think we're going to see a shift from games becoming just singular installments like movies or something, and rather becoming a service, almost like MMOs and stuff like that.
Well, what's interesting, we were just talking about the Xbox One X. This is almost like direct analogy of how to do it right. Taking it as a service, look at like what you're saying, what Psyonix has done. They've not basically said that we're bringing out a game, and just as you're starting to get into it, we're going to bring out a new game, so we're going to skin you again for another one. What they're doing is exactly what the opposite of what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox One X is. They're developing this game, they're making it a service, they're giving you extra content, and they're getting you hyped into it and buying into the service. And that's why it's exciting. That's why it feels exciting for Psyonix. I'm not even into the game, but I can appreciate what that company is doing. That, you know what I mean? There's things like the Switch is just about to get Rocket League. It would pee me right off right now. And I was like, you know what? I'll give this Switch a shot. I'll give it a shot at the game with Rocket League on the Switch. I buy it, and then instantly, as soon as I bought it, they're like, yeah, we've got a new version coming. I'd be like, oh my God, man, I just bought the game. I'd be really annoyed about it. That's exactly how I feel with the Xbox One X. If I bought one, I'd be like, oh my God, man, I just bought the console. Give it 5 years before you start bringing out the next one. So applaud goes out to Psyonix, man, the fact that they're doing it. I'm not even into the game myself, but the fact that they're approaching it like that, that's cool. And that's how it should be. You know, get your value at the game. It works better. You know, like there's things we've talked about with the consoles before, where it takes a couple of years just to even get used to the hardware and start optimizing for it and getting good at coding on these games, unless you're someone like the biggest developers on the planet. And before you even get a chance, the next bit of hardware is getting announced. So the games like Psyonix is making Rocket League, you know, they're in there, it's $1 billion game now or something, isn't it? It's like $1 billion game, 33 odd million subscribed registered users, and that's just going to build. It's like Minecraft. Just keep building upon it, keep adding stuff, content, make it an amazing service, and it will last for years, and it'll be worth an absolute, it'll make plenty of money for them. And this is where more of these developers need to go. Rockstar does it, Minecraft does it, or whatever, Mojang does it, Psyonix is doing it. This is the model. That's what gives people their value for their money.
Yeah.
And I think gamers more and more become more and more conscious of how much money they're spending, and they're much more reluctant to spend on just quick fixes. They want something that gives them value over a longer period of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good. I think it's brave. I think it's not cynical, which is nice. I mean, there's always some slightly cynical moments with any platform because, you know, any DLC that is pointless and costs money is slightly cynical. They've just added a Rick and Morty update as well just the other day, which is really cool. And
there's Mario stuff coming as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, and you've obviously, you know, you've got the Back to the Future stuff and the Batmobile stuff, and yeah, it's great. I really like it. And you know, the thing about it is I played that game 2 years ago and loved it. I kind of played it to the point where I didn't want to play it anymore after about 6 weeks, and I came back to it a month later, and there was a bunch of new stuff there. I came back to it 6 months later, there was more new stuff there. It felt like a new experience, and it's like that every time I come back into it. And I'm playing that game now 2 years on, as much as I was when I first got it and first, you know, had a chance to play that I think for free when PlayStation Plus did it way back. And yeah, it's just been a huge success. I think it's a really a great model, and I think we need to see more people doing that for sure. We're slowly running out of time this week, actually, guys. Is there anything else we want to quickly mention before we finish up and remind people how to subscribe, etc.?
Well, I've got some stuff that I'm probably going to be going over the day of the fix. I'm going to speak to you guys about this afterwards anyway. But yeah, nothing much. Just jump onto the SmallFry channel and check out the podcast there. Listen to it, obviously watch it if you want to look at a still picture. But anyway, check it out on the SmallFryUnify YouTube page and hit us up on the social media stuff. Leave us some comments. Leave comments and we'll respond to them and stuff. Usual.
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right. Well, it's been another fun week. It's not been the same without Kat, but then that's expected because, you know, we've got an empty chair. It seems very lonely and sad without her, but hopefully she's feeling better next week and feeling more like herself.
We'll have a bro hug, man. We'll have a bro hug.
We'll have a bro hug and include Kat in that bro hug next week. So. Thanks very much, guys. We'll be back next week for episode 24. This was episode 23. Don't forget to comment, to share, download, let people know about us as well, and share us on social media. Let people know what a brilliant podcast it is. We've got some new features coming very soon as well. We're working on those, some new ideas too, and it's all going to make for an even better Gamify 24/7 as we get into, like, you know, the years of getting married and settling down in episode 24. Folks, we'll see you next week. Have a brilliant week. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.